Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back to this week's episode of Mental Mondays here on Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys making some time to check today's video out. And if you guys are familiar with Mental Mondays, no explanation necessary, but if it's your first time to the channel watching it, don't expect anything about fishing in this video. This is something we do once a week that usually just a little departure, something to stretch your mind, something to get you thinking a little bit. So welcome everybody. Guys, today we're going to touch on some stuff that we've touched on a little bit in the past, but I want to expand on it in more detail. We're going to talk about the increasing number of people that sort of live in a information bubble and a denial of reality, because it is rampant right now, and it has been for the past 5 or 6 years. So I want to get into that in today's video and sort of give you guys my opinion on it and why things need to change along those areas there. And also, guys, before we get started, just a big thank you to everybody out there that has taken time to subscribe here to the channel, and everybody that's using the links I put in the description. Those are great ways to support the channel. So big thank you to everybody that's been helping out with that. Okay, guys, denial of reality here. I think a lot of this goes back to our upbringing, because here's what happens, how a lot of people, as they become adults, they live in a denial of reality on different topics we're going to talk about today. But when you're a kid, it's like, and I see this because, I have kids myself right now as young as 6 years old, and they are literally a sponge for information. They absorb so much at early age in life, anywhere over 4 years old. It's something they've evolved to do, that they've got to do that to survive. And as parents, we teach them things that they absorb and they accept as fact immediately. It's like, don't go near that dangerous dog right there, or, don't eat that mushroom right there. It could be poisonous. And they ask you why. It's like, that doesn't matter. Just don't do it. Or stay away from that railroad track. Don't get close to that railroad track. Or, believe a certain way on this. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. It just, you need to believe the way that I'm telling you to believe. Now, some of that stuff is good and necessary, but some of it is bad, because when people have belief systems out there that are not grounded in fact and reality, and they try to perpetuate that and they try to extend that onto the kids, that continues that never-ending cycle of a segment of the population that simply lives in denial of reality, that doesn't serve anything out there. And it's sort of a vicious cycle a little bit that's perpetuated by a lot of different factors that we have in our society today. Much of it is social media. That is more prevalent today than anything, as far as when you get locked into a certain point of view, there's always a group of people out there that will support that point of view, as vast as the internet is out there. Now, a lot of this has to do, when you're talking about denial of reality, it falls into quite a few different topics here. It falls into the two obvious ones are politics and religion. It goes into cultural issues. It goes into worldviews. It goes into environmental issues. It goes into just social justice issues. There's just every facet of our existence in this country. Some people simply don't live in a fact-based reality with that. And I think a lot, what happens with that a lot is that people, when they get older, and even as they grow up, from their younger period of their life, they tend to gravitate towards peer groups that reinforce their viewpoint or behavior. And in doing so, they don't expose themselves to much outside information and knowledge. And then when a lot of people, get older and they start absorbing information, they tend to only absorb information from outlets that support their point of view. They don't ever take the time to spend, absorbing any information counter to that point of view. And what happens, and that's what we're seeing right now more and more, is that people get locked in to things that just simply aren't true. There are facts out there surrounding the world we live in that are simply not true, that are not backed up by any factual evidence, that they try to back them up with alternative facts. But when it comes down to a fact-based reality, and when I'm talking about fact, I'm talking about things that are true, things that are verified as true by multiple sources, multiple agencies with sourcing behind that. There's ways to determine if things are true or not. They deny that out there, and they dig their heels into things that simply aren't true because they don't want to face the alternative of being wrong. And what happens if you take somebody that has, let's say somebody that has been raised to adhere to a certain political affiliation ever since they were little kids. Let's say their parents leaned one way and they kept hammering it over and over and over again that things are a certain way, things are a certain way. As that kid and that child grows up, he adopts those same type of belief systems. And unless he is presented with some other information or facts that he chooses to absorb, he's never going to get out of that information bubble. And that's what we have right now that is super, super prevalent in our tribalism within our country today on a lot of different issues that we're involved with. And it does not serve the public well at all, because when you get locked into a worldview that is not backed up by fact, reasoning, logic, any type of reproducible results, that is just thrown out there as fuel for conspiracy theories and, alternative facts and emotional viewpoints, all that type of stuff, tribalistic viewpoints, that is very that's extremely negative impact on our society in general, as you can see right now, because our country right now is more divided than it's ever been since the Civil War. And the only reason behind that is because it all started out with the fairness doctrine back in the 1980s, where the courts ruled that basically news agencies were not obligated to report the facts and the news. So it gave the news agencies the right to become opinion channels that do not have to be backed up with any fact or logic or reason behind that. A lot of people have gotten sucked into that over the course of the last 40 years out there, and that becomes their worldview. And the problem that you have is if you get somebody that's locked into some particular way of thinking that they can't explain and they can't back it up by any fact or logic or reason, it's almost impossible to get that person to change their viewpoint, because if they do that, they lose their very identity, who they are as people. And there's nothing more scary than somebody that's 40 or 50 years old that has been led to believe something their whole life, and then they finally found out, or they're presented with a set of facts that completely goes against the way they believed for 30 or 40 years. Sometimes most of the time, the easy route out for those people is to simply deny that reality that's challenging their belief systems, and to continue to dig their heels in with the way that they believe out there. And this is a huge problem in our country today, guys. It's absolutely a massive problem, because you try to approach a segment of the population with facts and logic and reason, and then the way that they counter that is they muddy the waters and basically try to discredit proven sources, fact-based sources. They try to discredit that as some type of conspiracy theory or some type of deep state crap or something like that. And it just contributes to the destruction of our society. We've seen it as it is right now. So the point of the video here, guys, overall, I think that I'm stating the obvious, but I think every single person out there, we need to keep an open mind about every single viewpoint that we have in life. We should not be scared of the truth. It's like if you have a viewpoint or worldview on something out there, and you don't really have the facts to base that up, other than it just feels right and feels good to you to think like that, there's nothing wrong with saying, I think I may have been wrong. Here's factual data, reproducible results. This data is backed up by multiple sources that list what their sources are. And I'm simply wrong with the way I was saying it. So there's nothing wrong with admitting you're wrong with something like that. Our society would be so much better off if we did that. But all too often, people today, they double down on ignorance. They double down on misinformation. They double down on conspiracy theories. They double down on things that counter or go against their worldview out there. And as a result, our society gets dumbed down in the process with that. So anyway, guys, it's something that this is something that we've never had this problem to this extent other than here recently in there. And like I said, the contributing factor is what I talked about as far as that fairness doctrine, and then the fact that social media outlets, certain news agencies, they make a fortune and they thrive on misinformation and tribalism. And even if they lose huge lawsuits, for lying to their viewers, they still keep it up out there. That's sort of what we're seeing in today's media conglomerates out there. But anyway, like I said, main things I wanted to get across this video, guys, is just, is seek the truth all the time. And the truth may not be what you think the truth is. You may want to accept something as the truth because it feels good to you, but in actuality, truth is backed up by something that has mutual consensus, fact-based sourcing, reproducible results. There's a lot of different ways to verify if something is true or not, but most people are they're uncomfortable to seek the truth. I see that a lot. They don't want to know the truth. And more than not, the conversation usually winds up something like, well, let's just agree to disagree, because it's too painful for a lot of people to admit that they're wrong sometimes. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about that, and we'll talk later. See y'all.